planning. Right now, we just received our staffing for the general school budget. And as we are making some of those decisions, even though we have made a decision to keep our Title I staffing the same, the fact is that we, in the last year's budget, had some extra funding that we put towards um, some after-school programs. If I want to be able to plan ahead, thinking of the general budget through FCPS, can I or can we have an idea of what kind of money that we are going to have in our Title I budget as we plan for staffing? Or will there be a process for us to go back and readjust? Because maybe I may want to add some additional staffing to my Title I budget as opposed to putting some of the money for the after school programs. And the reason why I say that is because our budget for staffing got hit pretty hard. And I would like to see if I could fund some additional staffing for the Title I budget.
Thank you for your question, Clint. At this time, we do not know what the budget allocations for schools will be for the 2021-22 school year. We do intend to maintain current staffing levels, but certainly, once the final allocation from VDOE comes out in the fall, and if there are additional funds, that may be an option for you. However, again, I state, we don't know at this point in time what that allocation will be. So I would say to you right now to, staff based on what you currently have, and then you will have the opportunity to make changes at a later time.
Okay, thank you.
Eric?
I never have questions. This is good. So, yeah, I just have another question about those parent engagement funds. If we have exceeded or used all of our funding for parent liaisons, can we use those parent engagement funds to support more hours for parent liaisons?
Yes, you would be able to do a budget adjustment if needed, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Next, we have Laura Elliott. Do you have a question for us, for Tanya?
Yeah. Hey, Tanya.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay.
Good. So follow-upping, I just have a follow-up to Clint's question. So are the amounts for those positions going to remain the same? Because I need to add a position. And so I'm trying to finagle school funds and then use part of Title I based on the allocation that we got this year. So are those going to remain the same?
Yes, at this time we do not intend to change the salary
cost. Okay, and then my other question is, so I do have money left from this year's budget. Could I use some of that money towards that staffing position for next year?
No.
Okay. All right. So I just have to keep it wherever it is unless I'm going to move it and do a BA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Laura. Before we field in more questions, we wanted to just take an opportunity to just introduce all the Title I staff here to support all the questions you may have for our team. My name is Gina Toller. I'm the Title I Educational Specialist, here to support.
I'm Courtney White. I'm another educational specialist. I work with Gina and Lisa and Yvonne on the instructional side.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvonne Denome, and I am the Title I manager and currently serve as your CARES Act manager.
I'm Lisa Felder. I am also one of the Title I Ed specialists. Good to see everyone. Oh, good to have you here. I can't see you, but good to have you here.
Thank you, team. And we're just going to open the floor back up to all of our participants for any questions you might have for the team. Amy.
Hi, I have a question. I'm a real visual person. And so we just got hired 2 of those hourly instructional assistants. And I know we have to submit forms. We charge them to our account and then we submit forms to get our money back from you from that $35,000. But I haven't been able to find anywhere like a visual guide. Do we have that somewhere up there on how to do that from A to Z? So in
Amy,
other words,
great.
like from the time that we charge it to the time that the FS 174, I know there's examples of that on there. But then I guess we have to upload it onto our drives and submit a budget adjustment, and that's where I get kind of fuzzy.
Amy, great question. We did create a one-pager on the process of
I'm actually-
hiring and paying and some additional processes for that. And I believe Courtney is sending directions over now and linking it to the chat.
That would be great.
Thank you, Gina. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. Sorry, I had to take the notes off the screen to find.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, Amy,
much.
for that. Thank you, Amy, for that question. Do we have any other questions for our Title I team? Hi, Stephanie. What can we help you with today?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I asked this question in the email, so I don't know if you have the answer yet. I was hoping that we could use our money this year to pay for our LC classes for next year. Is that a possibility?
Tanya, I think we had this discussion this morning. Can you relay the message
Yeah.
to Stephanie?
I still don't have an answer for you. Steph, we don't, I don't know at this point in time if that's a possibility, but I've written down a note here and we will follow back up with this.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have any other questions for the team?
Hello, hi, I have another question.
Sure, Clint, go ahead.
Thanks. I just want to go back a little bit because, correct me if I'm wrong. What was the exact date are we going to get the budget book for this current year? I'm just trying to align the time that we're going to get the budget book to the time of my staffing, because those 2 things got to coincide with one another, honestly, because trying to submit a staffing based on our projections and not knowing what we have in Title I makes it very difficult. So my question is to you guys is, what's the exact date are we going to get the budget book? I'm just trying to make sure the dates are close enough or aligned.
Unfortunately, I don't have an exact date for you. Last year it was early April, and Leona and I are currently working on this, but I know it will not be the 1st of April, I can assure you that. But I would say definitely by mid-April, but unfortunately, Clint, I don't have an exact date for when it's going to be completed and sent out. But it will be in the earlier part of April versus the latter.
That works because my staffing is like the middle of April, so that may work itself out, because I am just thinking that if everything stays the same as it was this past school year, I may want to buy just a point-free teacher to combine with another position I have to make a full-time position, or fund a full-time position now. using
Okay,
Title I and the other one. So that works.
all right.
Thank you for your question. Hi, Lisa. Do you have a question for us?
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
I have two questions. One was to piggyback on Clint's question regarding our budget book. And I just wanted to get a sense of, should we anticipate our budgets being similar to our budget amount from last year? Because that might, I know we're all a little anxious because there's funny money in the universe right now, and we're trying to make sure that we're able to pay for our positions, that we have enough money for our positions. And as we're trying to think forward in terms of the intervention programs that we may need for next school year, because we know that the needs are going to be very deep for our schools. If we have a sense of being in the same ballpark, or if we should anticipate less money, that'll help us break one way or the other.
I can assure you it will not be less, but I would just right now bank on it being equal. And
Thank
be
you.
happy if it's more.
We can live with more.
Let's just go with it will at least be equal to, but definitely not less.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And my second question is regarding the CNA and having that document put into place. And I know this sounds real slackerish, but we have so much on our plate. Can we recycle our CNAs from last year?
Yes. Sorry, Lisa, I was going to interject my voice, but what we could do is so now we've learned that the CNA can actually be 3 years. So for example, since you just did them, yes, so you could just make sure that it aligns with, your needs, but you can change the years to this year. This coming up year, I apologize. This coming up year.
You know what, Courtney, I like you so much. I'm going to let you get off of this early tomorrow.
Thank you. I'll have to work that out with Yvonne.
We can let her be off early tomorrow too. No, just joking. Thank you so much. That's excellent news. I'm sure I'm not the only one that is pleased by hearing that. So thank you so much.
And yeah, and I'm going to insert my voice. I'm sorry, I'm going to insert my voice. So Dr. Manui emailed me about a week ago asking about the flexibility with the comprehensive needs assessment and your SIP with your Title I budget book. And so what was explained to him that he was thrilled to hear was that because we can give flexibility with the CNA, we can also allow flexibility with the revision of your SIP, right? And so I'm hoping that Region will allow you to not only carry over your CNA through 21-22, but they're going to allow the SIP, because there would not be any implication with your SIP by not doing that. And then, as I explained to him, your Title I budget books would still be developed based on the CNA and the SIP from your previous years. However, if there were identified needs resulting from coronavirus, right, and the pandemic, and you had different needs, then you could do minor tweaks to your SIP or to your CNA, right? So that information went across to Region 2, to Brendan Manui, and I hope that he's sharing that with the other executive principals. But I do have that in writing if that's needed.
And I would also like to interject that the goal of the CNA was for it to be a living document, where you can always keep revisiting it, make tweaks and changes along the way, and just to help guide. But it's also helpful, like Yvonne said, in terms of supporting your budget book and your justifications for the things that you may need or decide to purchase or spend or shift money around. So that's just one thing to keep in mind.
And Yvonne, can I just, for clarification for the entire group, we're saying that the SIP can remain for another year. I mean, not the SIP, the CNA. However, the SIP and CNA still have to be aligned. Is that correct?
Yes, Gina, and actually it goes a step further. So with the new legislation, under ESSA signed into effect in 2015, we have to be able to show a clear alignment between the comprehensive needs assessment, the SIP, and the Title I budget book. So we know that whatever's in that Title I budget book has to be identified as a need from the SIP or from the CNA, and action steps that support those needs. So it's CNA, SIP, and Title I budget book alignment.
Thank you, Yvonne. So basically, for those of you who've been asked to revise your SIP, just remember, if you choose to continue your CNA, the SIP and the CNA needs to be aligned. We have another question for from Eric Johnson. Do you have a question, Eric?
I think I'm good based on some of the responses, but just to make sure, if we made a minor tweak or planning to make a minor tweak with our staffing, that's not going to affect my budget, right?
Your budget should align with whatever is in your CNA and SIP. So it has to align with your CNA and SIP.
So that's basically the same amount that I'm gonna, like, I guess going back to some of the other questions in terms of how much money I'm going to receive, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so if I did a 0.5 reading, but changing it to a 0.5 math, that's not going to make a difference or anything, right?
No, it's not, Eric.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have any other questions for the team? Let's check the chat here. Looks like we've answered most of your questions. Are there any questions for our Title I team? Eric?
Oh, sorry, Eric. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I asked my question. I'm fine.
Okay. I want to, now that we have you on the line on the BBCU, I do want to share, just as a reminder, a friendly reminder, that that if you, in thinking about federal program monitoring documents, because we will be monitored next year, and usually when we are monitored by the state, they come in and look at documents 3 years from 3 years prior. And so if we've been reaching out to you and bugging you to death, sorry about that, but we just want to make sure that we have all documents from schools regarding federal program monitoring documents, such as like your verification form. It's gone. It's out of my head right now. But the documents that we may need in order for to be in compliance with the state. We greatly appreciate you working with your IPOC. Your IPOC to make sure you have all the documents in. So I just want to put that plug out there so that we have your ear at the moment. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And for those of you who are still working on your federal monitoring folders, if you need any support as far as what documents still need to be uploaded, please feel free to contact your IPOC. Eric, do you have a question for us?
So we haven't heard from you guys. We're good, right?
Eric, I'll be talking to you. Like, no, I'm kidding. You're good.
I'm gonna get you.
Eric, to your point, the instructional point of contacts we'll be reaching out. I'm going to say during the month of May to make sure that any documents that haven't been uploaded, that way, if we reach out to you in May, we can have everything closed out by the beginning of June. And if you need our support with that, we're happy to help with that.
Thank you, Yvonne. See some laughters in the chat. Do we have any other questions we might have for the team or for the sake of the group? We have Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Hi. So you mentioned that we could not roll money over from the 2021 budget to pay for staffing. Is there anything else that we cannot roll it over for? Or is that just because the staffing is its own little beast, kind of? Because we can roll it over for parent engagement, right? We can roll it over for books and materials. We can roll it over for technology. Is there anything else that we're limited on that we would typically be able to do with money, Title I money, that we can't do?
No, staffing is the only one.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Nikki, for your question. Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, happy Thursday, everybody. I was just hoping you could give me a reminder about what makes a highly qualified Title I IA. We're looking to hire a few people, and I just want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's.
Y'all want me to field that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So a great question, Rachel. So Fairfax has a VDOE approved local assessment. And so during the pandemic, we converted that from a paper pencil to an electronic assessment. So anytime you have IAs or even anyone within your building that you want to consider for an IA position, send us their names and we can schedule the assessment that they can take electronically. And then once they have passed that assessment, we send that we send the documentation across to HR to put in their files. So what we would need from you, and I would recommend that you copy your specialist, your HR specialist on that email, but provide us the employee's name and their employee number and your intent to hire once they have passed the local assessment.
So would we have several monitors and Title I IAs in our building, for example, and we have several open positions for next year. So would we, yes. Could we have them, they're very strong candidates, can we have them all take the assessment?
You sure can, Rachel, and okay. That is an excellent idea. I've actually heard that there's a few graduates that are going to serve as classroom monitors that schools want to bring on as IAs. So absolutely, that's a fantastic question. And the beauty of it is, because it's electronic, we can send out individual links, and we can even allow multiple individuals to assess at the same time. There's also a study guide. We'd like to provide the candidates a study guide in advance, just so that they can see the type of questions and help them prepare.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you, Rachel, for your questions. Do we have any other questions for the team?
Go ahead, Felicia.
Hi, everybody. I have a general question. Are we having any official meetings this year? And this may have been asked earlier, but I just got here, so I don't know.
So Felicia, that's a discussion we are having with the management team. I know that we earlier on the year we put together a principal collaboration meeting in April, and there's still some discussions around that particular meeting this week. Once we have finalized whether or not we will have that meeting, our intent is to go ahead and make sure we notify and cancel that meeting, or notify and update all principals about that meeting, possibly in April. I hope I answered that question.
Yep, you did. So then my second question would be, this is my first time coming to a Title I optional office hour meeting, and I was just popping in and then noticed that there are an awful lot of people here, and now I'm wondering what I may have missed every week since January that I didn't realize I was supposed to be doing. And so I guess what I'm wondering is, I guess I now have a fear that I've missed something I needed to know or didn't ask a question I should have thought to ask. Great, I'll just read those notes then. Never mind.
And Felicia, we just want to, again, these are optional office hours that we have just sent out to our principals. And really, it's just a platform for you to join and have it ask questions you might have about the Title I budget or any other questions you might have for Title I. So it's kind of like a question and answer session. But yes, Courtney has added the notes to the chat.
Also, Felicia, since this is Lisa, also since we didn't have Title I principals meetings, that's why we came up with the office hours due to all the number of meetings we know you all are taking part of or participating in, and we didn't want to overwhelm. So we thought having office hours would be supportive in terms of you asking questions and of things you may need to know. This was just a space for that.
Thank you, Lisa. And I believe we had another question in the chat, and this goes back to Rachel's question around the hourly IAs. This is I'm sorry, I didn't catch that question. We can get back to Sandy on that particular question. Sandy, are you in the room still?
No, she left.
No, I'm here. I don't know. I hit a wrong button. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We just want to make sure we have an understanding around the question you posed in the chat. Can you go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, and I did miss a little bit. But what I was asking about when you were talking about highly qualified IAs and so forth, I know that on a regular school basis, we do that for Title I for teachers and staff. But was that supposed to happen for our hourly IAs? In other words, the classroom monitors that you guys refer to as hourly IAs and we're using as classroom monitors? Or is that like, we thought it was a temporary position? I didn't see anything listed on that we had to make sure they were highly qualified.
Hi, Yvonne, can you help Sandy with this question?
Sorry, Sandy, can you give it to me again?
Okay, so I know during the school year when we hire anybody, they're supposed to be highly qualified for Title I schools. Did that apply to the hourly IAs? Okay, good. Thank you.
No, and so actually, Sandy, that's the reason we did the hourly, because when we talked about the IAs, there was a discussion that if we did them benefited with Title I funds, they would have had to have been. And they would have had to have been highly qualified prior to hire. And so the volume of testing and hiring, it was easier. We felt it was easier for principals to find folks right away than to having to get them assessed and then hired.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought, because we did not see anything about that, but then people started this discussion and I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we tried to set you guys up for success with that one.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy. So team, we have about 20 more minutes are there any questions we have for the good of the group or for Title I? Please go ahead and input them in the chat or use the raise your hand feature.
Gina, Felicia.
I clicked that by mistake. I apologize.
Okay. Eric?
Did something change with the highly qualified in Title I? I was under the impression that that piece had changed where the teachers were not, that portion was changed about being highly qualified.
No, I wish, Eric, that that was the case, but unfortunately, the federal law that requires all teachers and instructional assistants that work in Title I schools to be deemed highly qualified.
Okay, I do think sometimes the language in the county sometimes is not matching, because I remember receiving a call saying, oh, we have a highly qualified teacher, like, and what for you will be good for your school. And I'm thinking as a Title I person that, okay, they meet the criteria, but they're using it differently. So that's just some feedback.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that offline, Mr. Johnson. I'd like to understand more about that. And the reason I say that is because on a monthly basis, full disclosure, our last monitoring, we had a finding around highly qualified. And so on a monthly basis, I pull a report and work with HR, Travis Holder and Lisa Lazinski, to review all the potential concerns on that form. And then if your current teachers are not highly qualified, then you know that letter has to go home. But given this is staffing season, a couple of things are happening during this time, right? If you have folks that are currently on a potential concern list, they cannot remain in your school in that current position, right? They can remain in the school in a position that they would be deemed highly qualified for. If, for example, a special education position is a hard to fill, brass ring has been exhausted, then that's where we can do an exemption, but we have to make every attempt in all 41 of our Title I schools to have highly qualified staff. Does that help?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that clarification.
Yvonne, there's one other question. If the IA candidate has an associate's degree or 48 college credits, are they highly qualified? It's Rachel's question in the chat.
Yeah, Rachel, that's a great question. They are considered highly qualified when they have either an associate's degree or 48 credits. Absolutely. Sorry, I should have stated that earlier.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for the team? And it's okay if you just need some time to process some of the information that we're giving you too, and feel free to reach out. I put a list just in case you needed it of your FPOCs and your IPOCs, because I know some of the FPOCs have changed recently, but we put that in the chat. So if you have any further questions and you think of them after this meeting, please feel free to reach out to your IPOC or your FPOC. And we'll stay on for another few minutes if you want to pop any questions that you still have into the chat. But we really appreciate all of you coming and taking the time out of your day. We know you have full plates to come and ask any of your questions and learn more about the rest of the year with Title I.
Hi,
Thank
Yvonne.
you all.
I think we have one more question. Do we want to kind of just mention for clarification around Eric's question around highly qualified staff? Can we say something about parent notification?
Right, so parent notifications, if it is identified that you have a teacher within your building that is not considered highly qualified, you will receive an email from me with the teacher's name and employee number. What I will say is that we make every attempt to provide a 2-month grace period to allow your teachers to get their documents in prior to requesting the parent notification letters. That's not, those letters are not a Fairfax requirement. They are a federal requirement. And given our finding back in 2018, we know that that is one thing that the state will be looking at closely next year, is making sure that once we notify you a letter needs to be sent, that that letter is sent and a copy of it is saved to your federal programs. So please know that we just don't identify a teacher in September and require a letter in October, right? So we have been giving the teacher a 2-month grace period, or at least attempting to get in the documentation. Does that help answer that highly qualified question?
Yes, thank you, Yvonne.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. If you have any other questions, you can put them in the chat or feel free to raise your hand and we'll stay for another couple minutes to answer any of the lingering questions that you might have. But thank you so much, and we really hope that you take some time over the spring break to just relax and enjoy yourself and spend some time with your family and take a break from the screen. Thank you.
Hey guys, can we stay on so we can kind of think through some things? Please.
I'm happy to do that, Lisa.
Thank you.
We need to close out of this meeting.
Okay, Tanya. Okay, team. Thank you so much for your time. Rachel, did you have any questions for us or? Okay, I think we can go ahead and log off if we need to.
Hold it. Oh. Well.